Hi guys, today we have a production model of the RCC-1 from Arye Gear that I originally reviewed a few months back. Back then it was a pre-production unit that had some areas that needed fine-tuning, and thanks to Max Gaming I got my hands on the version that went to the regular customers as well. So in this video we're gonna focus on areas that were improved, take a look at their driver software, and then we have some latency measurements as well. I have linked the original video down to the description in which I mainly talk about the shape, so take a look at that as well if you want. Okay, so on the beta unit the shell had some play and it had some minor gaps here and there that resulted in minor but noticeable creaking. It was still a very solid unit, but this production version is vastly improved in that regard. There is absolutely no play anywhere and it's an insanely solid mouse to hold. The carbon fiber reinforced plastic that the shell is made of feels super rigid, and with the weight of 49 grams, it feels a very nice mouse to use. The mouse is a bit front heavy and some may find it a bit distracting thing. It's not a big problem for me personally, but if you are keen to modding your mice, you could shift the battery back a bit if you find it distracting. I however recommend you to just keep using the mouse and most likely you'll adjust to the weight balance quite quickly, since especially with claw grip, I don't really notice differences in weight balance that much in actual use. The coating is as good as on the beta unit, at least for me. I've heard from others that their units have worse coatings that is very slippery, which I can't verify myself since this has one of the best coatings I've used. It's a slightly rubberized feeling matte coating that feels very grippy, and the color just looks fantastic. So if yours has a different feel, there might be a problem with your unit, and I'd maybe take a look at returning it and getting a new unit. Other than that, pretty much everything just feels tighter on the mouse. The main buttons have a very almost non-existent pre-travel, and the post-travel is nicely bouncy. It's a really nice on-run optical implementation in my opinion, but some may find it too light of a click. It is definitely one of the lightest clicks I've used. Then the side buttons. On the beta unit there was a bit of play here and there, and when I shake it there is some rattle coming from them, but here they feel so much nicer. They are quite different to other side button implementations, and they have a very small travel distance that requires very little force to actuate. I've had some accidental presses happen to me with them, but I've now learned to keep my thumb a bit on the back, where these are less likely to happen. The scroll wheel is also tighter and nicer. It's quite smooth overall, and I think the middle button is nice to press as well. On the beta unit it's a bit rattly of a scroll. The metallic scroll wheel may feel slippery to some, but I personally like it a lot. Okay, then let's take a look at the driver. So the mouse is running CompX firmware and is capable of up to 8K polling rate. There is no web driver available, so everything happens on a separate driver software. On the button assignment page, you can remap your buttons if you want. Then on the performance page, you can set your DPI levels, polling rate, and lift off distance. You can also cycle between DPI and polling rate with the buttons on your mouse. When you do those changes with your mouse, the receiver lights up accordingly. The DPI levels are color coded and the polling rates flash once for 1K, twice for 2K, 4 times for 4K, and a long flash for 8K. Then on the advanced page on the driver you can adjust sensor rotation if you want to compensate for a crooked grip or you find it otherwise beneficial. Then you have a sensor boost mode which ups the sensor frame weight to max while eating up more battery. And then of course motion sync, angle snapping, and ripple control, which I would just keep off myself. Then there is an auto sleep setting and your debounce time, which I have set to 0 with no problems. The driver is overall clean and easy to understand, which is good. For the click latency, I measured every polling rate with 0 debounce time, and all the results were pretty much something I expected them to be for a CompX mouse. So under 0.4 milliseconds for 8K, around 0.6 milliseconds at 4K, around 0.9 milliseconds with 2K, and 1.1 milliseconds at 1K. For comparison, you can see the Skyrock's measurements here, and they are pretty much exactly the same. The differences are due to the variance with the measurement, which is normal. For motion latency, I tested every polling rate with the boost mode on and off, and didn't really see any differences here. Every result was around minus 0.6 milliseconds from my control unit, regardless what polling rate was used and whether the boost mode was on or off. The polling stability seems also very good for the most part, and here I could maybe see some difference with the sensor boost mode set to on, making the grouping a bit tighter, but still every result averaged the polling interval they were meant to very nicely. With 1K polling and boost mode set to on, I noticed some occasional off-period polls, but for the most part everything just seemed very good. So in conclusion, I think this is still one of those mice that either work for you or just outright don't. The shape is very polarizing, but for me it is pretty much a better G303. It forces my hand to a very aggressive claw grip that I normally don't use, but with this it's a really easy grip to hold. From the talks with others, there might be some variance with the units, which is a bummer. However, I really can't tell you if it's true since I only have one production unit and one pre-production unit. But what I can tell you is that the fixes they made for the production run are really nice, and still I think this is one of the nicest looking mice out there, and performance wise it is also very good. But yeah, thanks for watching and see you on the next one. Goodbye.